In the quiet stillness of a suburban afternoon, I was on the verge of uncovering something that would fundamentally alter the trajectory of our lives. It wasn't the kind of revelation you might anticipate. There were no theatrical confessions or explosive confrontations involving shouting and slammed doors. Instead, it was something far more delicate, a fragile burden that my son had been shouldering for much longer than I could have ever perceived. He returned to the house that day carrying a truth so profound and heavy that he could no longer bear the weight of it in isolation. Standing there, I had no idea how the dialogue would progress or how the very foundation beneath our feet would shift, but I was certain of one thing: this was a moment that neither of us would ever be able to erase from our memories. This is the narrative of that afternoon when my son came home with a truth he could no longer carry. Before we dive into the heart of this memory, please take a second to like the video and share your own reflections or personal stories in the comments section below. Subscribing ensures you stay connected with our latest stories as they unfold. Also, I'd love to know where you are joining me from today. Tell me your city or town in the comments. It's always wonderful to see how far these memories travel. It began as an unremarkable Tuesday. The sun hung lazily in the sky, seemingly suspended in time, casting elongated shadows across the neighborhood. I was perched by the kitchen window, engaged in a ritual I had performed 1,000 times, slowly stirring my coffee while listening to the gentle, familiar hum of the house. Nathan, my son, had recently celebrated his 25th birthday. For the most part, we had transitioned into a comfortable, adult rhythm. The turbulent years of teenage rebellion, the shouting matches, and the late-night worries about him running with the wrong crowd felt like a lifetime ago. He was a man now, seemingly settled and secure in his place in the world. Or so I believed. The sudden creak of the front door made my heart skip a beat. Nathan wasn't supposed to be home at this hour. He had been spending more time at his apartment downtown, and I had slowly adapted to the hollow quiet of the house in his absence. When I heard that familiar sound, a wave of unease washed over me. This wasn't a casual drop-in. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and walked toward the hallway. There he was, standing in the living room, looking uncharacteristically hesitant. His hands were buried deep in his pockets, his shoulders slightly hunched as if he were bracing for a blow. There was an electricity in the air, a sense that something unspoken was finally about to take shape. "Hanging on," and Nathan said softly, his voice barely audible, as if he were testing the temperature of the room. "Hey, sweetheart," I replied, keeping my tone light and airy to mask my growing concern. "What's going on? You're home quite early." He looked at me, but his eyes darted away almost instantly, the words seemingly trapped in his throat. Nathan had always been a private person, never one to wear his heart on his sleeve, but today, his aura was different. He began to pace the floor, a nervous habit he hadn't displayed since his childhood. My stomach twisted. "Can we talk?" His voice was steady, yet I could detect a minute tremble beneath the surface. "Of course," I said, gesturing toward the sofa. "Sit down, you're starting to make me nervous." Nathan didn't sit. He paced for a few more moments before stopping in front of the window, his back turned to me. Time seemed to dilate. Every mundane sound was amplified: the methodical ticking of the wall clock, the low-frequency vibration of the refrigerator, the muffled roar of a distant car. I watched him, this man I thought I knew, and realized in a flash of clarity how little I understood the internal landscape he had been navigating. "Mom," he began, his voice a mere whisper against the silence. "I've been carrying something with me for a very long time, and I just can't keep it inside anymore." My heart constricted. This wasn't a minor admission. It wasn't about a career change or a disagreement with a friend. The gravity in his tone signaled something tectonic. "What do you mean?" I asked, standing up and placing my hands on my hips, trying to anchor myself. Nathan took a deep breath, glancing over his shoulder with a face that was a mask of sheer uncertainty. Then, he turned back to the window, gathering the last of his strength. "I didn't want to tell you this, Mom. I didn't want to cause you any pain," he said, his voice cracking. "But I have to. I've been hiding this for years, and it's not just about me anymore. I need to be honest with you, and with myself." I stood there, braced for the storm. The air felt thick, almost impossible to breathe. "Tell me," I urged, my voice soft yet unwavering. "Whatever it is, we will figure it out together." Nathan nodded slowly. He finally turned to face me, his expression a chaotic blend of guilt and profound relief. "I'm gay, Mom." The words hung suspended in the air. For a split second, my entire world froze. My mind scrambled to find a script, a response, a reaction, but I was speechless. It wasn't exactly shock or even a complete surprise, though I had never consciously seen it coming. It was more like realizing a portrait you've looked at for decades has a hidden layer you never noticed. It didn't make him any less my son, but it was as if a new light was being cast upon him, and I didn't yet know if that light would clarify the man I knew or cast shadows over things I hadn't yet grasped. I took a deep breath, trying to regain my footing. The room felt warmer. "I'm still your son, Mom," and Nathan added quickly, his voice pleading. "I just need you to know me. The real me." There it was. The truth he couldn't carry. It felt fragile, like a piece of fine porcelain that might shatter if I didn't hold it with both hands. I stepped toward him until we were face to face. His eyes were wide, oscillating between hope and terror. I reached up and gently touched his arm. "I know, Nathan," I said softly. "And I love you. I love you more than anything in this world. Nothing, absolutely nothing, will ever change that." In that moment, the ground shifted. It was beautiful, painful, and raw. The days following that Tuesday were strangely quiet, not a peaceful quiet, but a dense, foggy silence where every sound felt sharp and intrusive. We still saw each other, but a new space had opened up between us. I didn't have all the answers. I was a jumble of emotions, trying to reconcile the boy I had raised with the man standing before me. I knew I had to let this moment breathe. The following weekend, Nathan invited me to a small cafe downtown. We sat in a booth by the window, the morning light spilling over us. We started with trivialities, work, the weather, television, but the tension was palpable. Eventually, I knew I had to break the seal. "So, Nathan," I began carefully, "how are you really doing? After everything we talked about?" He met my gaze. "I don't know, Mom. I guess I'm okay. It feels like it's been years, but I've never actually said it out loud before." I nodded. "You've carried it all this time. I can't imagine how exhausting that must have been." Nathan sighed and rubbed the back of his neck, a childhood habit that made my heart ache. I reached across the table and placed my hand on his. "You don't have to have all the answers right now, Nathan. We are figuring this out together." He looked at my hand, and for a fleeting moment, I saw a spark of gratitude in his eyes. "Thanks, Mom. I wasn't sure how you'd take it. I didn't want you to be disappointed or worried." "You're my son," I squeezed his hand. "You're the same Nathan you've always been. This doesn't change the core of who you are to me." Slowly, we began to find a new way of being together, a deeper, more honest connection. One Saturday, he helped me organize the attic. Amidst boxes of old books and childhood mementos, he found a photo of us at the park when he was 7. I wish I could have told you back then, he whispered. I wish I could have told you sooner. I felt my chest tighten. The truth was, I had suspected it for a while, but as a mother, I had wanted to protect him from a world that can be judgmental and harsh. I realized then that he hadn't been hiding from me, he had been hiding from himself. It's okay, Nathan, I said softly. You don't have to wish for the past anymore. You're here now, and that's enough. As the weeks turned into months, our bond continued to transform. One afternoon, we walked through our old neighborhood. Mom, and Nathan said, I didn't just come out to you that day. I also ended a relationship. I slowed my pace. I didn't know you were seeing someone. That's the thing, he murmured. I kept everything hidden. Even the good parts. He described a man who was kind and patient, someone who understood Nathan better than Nathan understood himself. Why did it end? I asked. Because I wasn't ready to be seen. Not fully. And he deserved someone who was. I looked at my son and saw so much of myself in his struggle, the moments in my own life where I had hidden away, afraid of the light. Nathan, I said, is sometimes the timing of our truth isn't wrong, it's just still growing. You weren't ready then, but you are becoming ready now. We sat on an old park bench, watching the shadows stretch across the grass. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. I felt an honest, profound connection. However, a new challenge was looming. One Saturday, Nathan came over with a familiar nervous energy. I've been thinking a lot, Mom, he said, rooted in the kitchen doorway. About everything. I realized that I need to take the next step. My heart thudded. What is it? Nathan took a deep breath. I think it's time to tell my dad. The words hit me like a physical blow. Nathan had always been close to his father, but a distance had grown between them recently. His father was a good man, a solid provider, but he struggled with deep emotional conversations. Nathan had always feared his father wouldn't understand, that he would see this truth as a disappointment. I think he needs to know, and Nathan continued. I don't want to keep lying to him. I just don't know how he's going to react. I sat down at the table, my stomach twisting. Once this truth was shared, there was no going back. Their relationship was about to enter a fire, and I didn't know if it would emerge tempered or consumed. But as I looked at Nathan, I knew he was right. He couldn't keep living in the shadows of his father's house. We were moving forward, and that meant facing the hardest truths together.